Zero Calorie Marketing is a platform designed to help solve real-world marketing problems for real-world marketing managers. Our mission is to empower marketing managers everywhere to excel in their roles and conquer any challenges they encounter in their professional journeys. Today, our guest is Tom, founder and CEO of Grizzle. What's Grizzle, you hear me ask? Grizzle is a content marketing agency that helps SaaS companies accelerate user acquisition and demand generation. Straight from your LinkedIn.
Yeah, right? yeah. That's why I kind of did the old, it's pretty accurate, smart.
It's been going for about 7 years. Well done on that.
Thank you.
And you've got some notable clients like Tide Bank, Pipedrive, a company I love. And if anyone from Pipedrive is listening and you want to sponsor a podcast, then hit me up. Web.com, SEMrush, and many more. First question, Tom. What is SEO in 2023 or 2024 when this podcast will be out?
Yeah, I think it's really the same as it was 1, 3, 5 years ago. It's a message. It's a way of getting a message in front of an audience who is looking for that message, whether it's a product, a piece of content, a solution to a problem, right? It's a vehicle for delivering what Google would call helpful content. And it's always kind of revolved around that. And I think it will continue to be revolved around that, especially when, you've got AI content becoming more and more prevalent, filling the internet with what I think is junk.
Yeah. I think from my side, it just seems like from a layman's perspective, it just seems like just create good quality content that people will find useful.
100%.
That's your evergreen content, I guess.
Fulfill what people are searching for, whether that's like a product or comparing a product, even if it's your product against a competitor, or information, guides, that kind of thing. Just getting in front of them and being as useful and helpful as possible.
Cool. Off camera, Tom told me to buy backlinks from.
Yeah, the lower quality, the less relevant, the better. If you're, a CRM platform, then make sure you buy it from, I can't think of anything appropriate.
Just go on Fiverr and find the cheapest supplier who could give you a backlink and just buy them.
That's it.
That's what he said.
That is the key to SEO today, man. There we go. But that's the other thing. Talking about backlinks, it's all about building trust as well and establishing authority and showing that you are a trustworthy authority in your industry or within the topics that you are talking about, right?
I guess hard and fast rule, if anyone's listening, key to SEO in 2024, create good quality content.
Yeah, essentially.
Do it in a sensible way so that it makes sense.
Yeah, don't fill the internet with junk.
Top tip, yet again. How did you get into marketing and SEO? Because I reviewed your LinkedIn and I spoke to a few people that we know we having mutual, contact.
Yeah.
And I read through your LinkedIn profile and, you've gone through in-house, you worked for some big companies and then you went and set up on your own. How did you, what was the first thing that, what led you to marketing and SEO?
Yeah, I fell ass backwards into it, essentially. I was a programmer, developer in a previous life, and then I found this thing called SEO in 2008. And I always knew I wanted to start a business, build something. I was building websites back in the day, and it just kind of became like a natural progression. And I fell into a rabbit hole, essentially.
How, it's funny because a lot of marketing professionals that I've spoken to have more or less said the same thing.
Yeah.
It's, no one goes to university and says, I'm going to read about SEO or go straight into it. So going back away from this, tell us a bit more about Grizzle. What makes you different from your competitors? Because there are a lot of, this is an industry which has many, many competitors. What makes your company different?
Yeah, that's a really good question. And do you know what? Whenever prospects, customers ask us this question, there's not much difference between us and some of the best content agencies around there. We all follow very similar methodologies because it's what works, right? So talking about creating high quality content at scale when you can, building trust, utilizing digital PR, etc. We all kind of do that. I think what makes clients stick around with us for 3, 4, 5, even 6, 7 years is our dedication to quality content. And there's a lot of people out there right now that start right off the bat by publishing as much content as possible at what we could be considered as low quality. We have a pretty sickening dedication to quality. Our bar is pretty high. I think that's why clients kind of stick around with us. So that's kind of, we get marketing, but we also get the principles behind high quality content, whether that's editorial, video, etc.
I mean, as a business owner and a pretty successful one,
he's not lying.
As a business owner, really the true sign of a good company is how your churn rate, I guess, how long your customers stick around after they've worked with you. So you've got some fantastic companies that you've worked with, and the fact that they stick around is testament to the work you and your team do.
Thank you.
In terms of, if you were to, let's say, I would say, what are your 3 unique selling points for Grizzle? What would the first 3 things come to your mind? Don't think about it, just say it.
Yeah, I think drawing back on something I just mentioned more succinctly is our balance of quality and aggressive growth principles, right? So we all know that in order to succeed, especially in competitive industries, you've got to be fast and aggressive, but you've got to set a baseline for quality first. So that's, I think, 1. You asked for 3. I think when I look at other agencies in this space, they don't quite nail the digital PR and link building aspect to it, which is something that we've done pretty well. Not just from like a link building perspective, but being able to get your message in front of a wider audience where there is trust established. So there's a digital PR element to it as well. And then, the third, what a tricky one.
It's you.
Yeah.
You come across as being very genuine.
Stop it, you.
That's how we connected, I guess. When we initially met, you knew what you were talking about. You had a great brand, and I guess that kind of leads me to the next question. The positioning of yourself and the company. You're not saying we're the biggest company in the world, but you're not saying we're the smallest company, one-man band kind of situation either. So that's the impression I had.
I'll take it. The problem is I don't scale, so
sadly you don't. That was the next question in terms of. You've got quite a unique brand voice, I guess. As in, not unique as in like you're doing something completely different, but you've got very distinctive, and you kind of have a voice out there. How do you maintain your brand voice consistency over different platforms, different mediums, and different activities that you do?
Are you talking about me personally or the agency? Grizzle as a whole. I think it's the same way we do with clients, right? It's kind of establishing what your definition of quality is, what is your tone of voice, what is your personality, and it's not something that can be defined in binary terms. I created a LinkedIn post about this the other day where style is a bit more of a scale, right? So when we kick off content strategy projects with clients, one of the questions or series of questions we ask them is like, between a scale of 1 to 5, do you consider yourself fun, where fun is 1, or sincere, where sincere is 5? And people might land on 3.5 or a 4, which means they want to come across professional, authoritative, but every now and then some sarcasm is appropriate, where it's appropriate. And these are like the little things that you can do to kind of codify what is otherwise a nebulous principle around style and personality. For us, I guess, we follow that. And at the moment, I'm still the one, driving the charge. I have a team that helps us create our own content, but I'm still the one that's kind of saying, this isn't quite right. From an authoritative perspective, from a tone of voice perspective, but also what I believe. And that's something that you need to codify as well, which is why, for anyone listening who's working in-house, working with subject matter experts to get that opinion into the content that you're creating is so key.
No, that's a really good answer. Your answer is really good, but I'm really sorry, but no one has used the word nebulous in a sentence in a real conversation with me, so thank you for that.
You're welcome. I'll do it again.
So you learn new vocabulary here.
Nebulous.
Zero calorie marketing. I know we were talking about this before. How do you generate leads for Grizzle?
So we were having this conversation earlier, right? And you said word of mouth. I think our journeys are quite similar. Started off with cold outreach. We had a very specific offer for a very specific type of person. Obviously, the agency has evolved, as it seems yours has. And now, like, we're an agency, man. It comes from word of mouth, whether that's existing clients or people that trust you, fractional CMOs and stuff like that. But we're getting a little bit more sophisticated with our own content now. We're starting to see some interest come from LinkedIn, both mine and my team's as well. So yeah, it's a little bit of a mix, trying to make it a little bit less reliant on word of mouth, as it were.
So it's more scalable, and you can kind of predict, and also you can, I guess, over a period of a year, your sales targets, you can say, okay, if we do activity X, and if we increase this, then we can guarantee ourselves.
Exactly. We want to scale, but not at the expense of the quality of service. So it's kind of like a slow growth, but we're still aggressive and we know where we want to go.
Cool. Once you get the customer's interest, or once you get them through the door, how do you nurture your leads from initial contact to... oops. Sorry.
We'll edit that out. It's fine.
So how do you nurture your leads from initial contact, or let's say someone's shown an interest, to get them to actually sign on the dotted line?
Yeah, great question. I think education really comes down to education and understanding how that organization works in terms of like the buying process. If we're working with startups, usually the point of contact is the person who is going to be making the decision, or they've got their CEO or whatever. It's pretty easy and it's pretty straightforward. We just help them make a business case to that one individual. When you start moving up market, you have entire buying committees to work with. And so you need to kind of like create content that makes it easy for your champion, the guy who or girl who jumped on a call with you in the first place, to go and then sell that to the rest of the organization. That doesn't just mean like VPs of marketing or their boss, it means the CFO. It could mean head of procurement or something like that. They need to know what they're buying into as well. But there is, I'll say a caveat with the whole CFO thing. A lot of people think that they're just looking to like crunch numbers and get as much profit out as possible. But the best CFOs I've always found buy into the vision of the company. So yes, they're probably very numbers oriented, but if what you're offering aligns with the vision of the business and where it's going, then CFOs will easily get on board.
I mean, if you go to a CFO and say, hey, we're going to get you 10 times more customers, then they're not going to say no to that.
Yeah, but you've got to prove it, right? I can say that.
You have to
back it
prove
up.
it. What?
Yeah, unfortunately, man. ROI, who'd have thought?
Just make some nice graphics and just make a nice PowerPoint presentation and show it to them.
Use beautiful language in a short form blog post and in a nebulous manner, and you're off to the races.
Cool. Well, that kind of gets me to the next question, actually. How do you measure your customer lifetime value as an agency?
That's a really good question. Averages, man. It's really simple. I think just because we've been operating quite boutique up until now, it's just a matter of, okay, how long on average are these types of clients sticking around with us? How much are they paying? You've got average lifetime value. I think it's going to get more and more complex as we grow. I don't know what that looks like just yet. It comes down to segmentation, average length of time. And you're always going to have clients that kind of skew the averages one way or another. So you have to kind of consider that. But it does give you, as you begin to grow, if you're going to go beyond 20, 30, 50 clients, kind of like a model to create a forecast, let's say.
Cool. From your perspective, I know that I've been following your content online and also read lots of bits and pieces that you've published. What does content marketing mean to you?
What a question. It's a platform for building trust with other people, with your buyers, essentially. And I think people forget about one versus the other. If you take content and marketing, great content is no use without marketing. And oftentimes that marketing comes down to distribution and how you're going to build trust, how you're going to demonstrate credibility within the context of that content, but also how you're going to get it out there. But then similarly, the content, if it's shit, then it's not going to work, either because no one will pay attention, algorithms won't reward it, and you just end up wasting a load of money. So
just like creating noise for the sake of creating noise.
Essentially, yeah. We often use the term value, right, when creating content, value-driven content. And again, it's one of those nebulous terms. And so you have to kind of define what that value is. It comes down to the context of whatever it is that you're creating. But essentially, I think a good way of putting it, at least in the B2B space, is you're helping your audience get from their current state to their desired state. Whether that's like, I've got this problem, how do I solve it? Oh, I now have everything I need to know to take the next step. And that could also mean I'm picking between 3 different CRMs. How do I evaluate them? Okay, now I know how to evaluate them. And just so happens that you're a CRM platform that's helped them do that, right? So I think that's probably an oversimplified way of putting it, but yeah.
I mean, I completely agree with you. I mean, all the content I put out there, I always think of the customer or the person who's going to be reading it, what problems they're likely to have, and how am I best suited to actually answer this question. I mean, having created over 1,000 videos for companies like Colgate, Eurovision. No, you're not in this video.
Sorry, we don't do much for
honestly, I think when you have created lots and lots of content, video content, or any type of content, you kind of get a feel for what things it will work, what's going to resonate, and yeah, completely agree with you in terms of going with the value first.
100%.
What trends are you seeing in the B2B marketing world?
Oh man, yeah. So
from a person who's worked with a bunch of these kind of companies and seeing them and interacting with them on a day-to-day basis.
Yeah. So marketing in general, I'm going to lean into the content side of things because it's content no matter what. No matter what activity you're doing, content is still the baseline. One thing, I can't remember the name of the study, but they interviewed a bunch of B2B buyers and asked them, like, what kind of content and sources do they trust? And it turns out that B2B buyers rely on search to, like, do commercial research or research in general, but they don't trust B2B blogs. So where does that leave us? And I think it comes down to, or it will come down to, diversifying where you publish and create content and who creates content. So you're seeing a lot more like executives within large organizations create content on LinkedIn. Active Campaign, Casey Hill recently posted a LinkedIn post where he talked about how there's 5 or 6 of them creating LinkedIn content and each of them get 10,000 impressions. And 10,000 impressions from 5 people is better than one person getting 100,000 because it's targeted and relevant.
And I guess it's the quality of who's going to be reading it, which is essentially, you know, if you have 10 potential buyers who are in the market at the time, then, you know, they're much more valuable than a million people who are going to just browse through it. What should marketing managers be thinking about for 2024? Actually, not for like home, you know, just
where the next meal is coming from. I think they're going to be thinking about the same things, right? They are, especially right now where budgets are getting choked, especially, you know, amidst all the layoffs that are kind of happening. There's a lot of scrutiny under marketing right now. Content has to drive an outcome, and it always has, but there's more scrutiny under it now. So it's kind of like, how do you prove and attribute that? I think attribution is going to be a bigger challenge with, you know, the changes made to privacy conditions, cookies, etc. There are some tools that are out there that are kind of helping to solve this. Hockey Stack being one of them. Shout out to Obed. And yeah, I think it's just making sure that the content that you create is actually working towards your objectives. And right now, I think that objective is cold hard cash, revenue. How is what we're creating going to drive revenue? But also, once we get out of this little trough, brand awareness still matters.
So I got this question from someone we know. When are you actually going to create your customer case studies?
We're on it. Yeah, we've got 2 in the works. Listen, Christina, like
I've outed her.
We're working on a few. So our results page is a little lackluster at the moment, but doing a little overhaul. The problem is, man, like one of the reasons that people always came to us or stuck with us is because a lot of people in the mid-market enterprise world, at least the clients that we seem to attract, they appreciated confidentiality, but now I'm testing that. And I was wrong, so we're working on it.
I mean, you know, I guess you could just generalize numbers and give percentages and that kind of thing. But
everyone, yeah.
You know, when you're an agency, writing about yourself is probably the most difficult thing.
It's the cobbler's shoes, man. The cobbler's shoes, classic.
So yeah, I've been sitting on a few customer testimonials as well as updates I need to do on the website for a long time. I keep kind of snoozing on Google, so I feel for you.
Yeah.
Hopefully that answers your question, Christina. Enjoy yourself wherever you maybe, or you know, in the sun somewhere. You know, whilst we are here in cold London.
Yeah, the weather sucks.
It's been raining non-stop. Gated versus non-gated. Where do you stand on that?
It depends. Like, the thing that you are gating, the value has to be disproportionately more than the friction of signing up for a thing. Not only that, but you're not just trying to overcome the friction of signing up for something. It's the bad rep in the B2B world that gated content now has. So it's like an ebook, a white paper, like this has to be the best fucking ebook I've ever seen on this topic for me to give a name and an email address.
Yeah.
It could be a resource, it could be a tool, it could be a course, something like that. I think it depends, really. Yeah.
Cool. Yeah. I mean, my side,
yeah, where do you stand on it, Sad?
I personally, this is going to make it sound really bad, and I know a lot of marketing people are going to be listening to this. I have like a fake email address I use for gated content.
I reckon 80% of people who sign up for anything do that as well.
Sometimes it will say like you must use a company email address, and I kind of use a throwaway email address.
Yeah.
Or make something up like suds@yourmum.com.
What year is it? We're in the 90s.
No, but I think, but having said that, you're right. If something is really going to address my problems, I don't even think about it. I just type in my email address and just kind of.
And if the thing that you have used a fake email address on is so valuable, then it doesn't matter, because that piece of content should build trust. It should deliver value in a way that establishes whoever created this PDF, whatever it might be, that's the job, that's the goal.
Actually, having said that, some of the best PDFs I've read have been through that fake email address. So
yeah, well, there we go, man. There we go. And I bet you went back and read a blog article or something as well.
I did, and actually, so if I were to consider buying service XYZ, then they probably would be the first people I'd go to. So
100%.
You've won me over through fake emails. Sounds like your mum is still a valid email address.
I think so. Yeah. It's technically a work email for sure.
So going back to your, non-agency work, what are 3 must-read books for you? Like, what are the first 3 things that comes to mind?
Man, I'm not a massive book reader these days. I'll tell you what's made an impact on me recently. Traction by Gino Wickman, where he walks through the EOS framework, the Entrepreneurship Operating System. It changed the way that I run my business. It's like 6 pillars. I can't remember the name of them all, but they're kind of critical for running, growing, organizing a business. It changed the way I looked at running my business. It turns out a lot of my peers use it as well, so that felt very validating. Business-wise, business books. The only one I've read was Shoe Dog, and that was a terrible book, I thought. I'll tell you what changed, but yeah, the Phil Knight. Sprint by Jake Knapp.
Okay.
So it's inherently a design book, right? But the methodology, the sprint methodology he runs through is essentially like solving a very specific problem within a week.
Okay.
Right? So creating like a feature or a product. For me, I use that framework. I've read that book the week before I started Grizzle. Because I tried to start businesses so many other times before, and I would put flashy websites together and nothing happened. And then I threw this thing together in a weekend, saw if anyone wanted it, and lo and behold, here we are. I think you can apply that sprint methodology to anything. So that's a really good one if you look at it not just through the lens of design and product design, but also building things. And then number 3, I reckon anything by, from a marketing perspective, Dan Kennedy. And bear with me here, direct response marketer is really old school, but some of the principles in there helped me frame or create a frame around how I sell things these days or create offers and stuff like that. And I think Alex Hormozy has taken a lot of those principles as well. So get it from the OG. Read like The Ultimate Sales Letter by Dan Kennedy.
I'm going to check
Old school. It's old school and it comes through in the language, but there's some gems in there.
3 SaaS tools that you cannot live without.
Yeah. So being a SEO content marketing person, Ahrefs/SEMrush. Choose your poison. We use both. So I'll class that as 1. ClickUp. I'm a big ClickUp fanboy, especially now going from like marketer to business operator. It's like the operating system for everything that happens in our business, from growth to operations and client delivery. Fantastic. And there was a company called Zenpilot that you should check out if you're an agency who helped us kind of implement that after trying ourselves. Wouldn't recommend that. And then 3rd, in terms of SaaS, I use Todoist on a day-to-day basis. I organize my life and what I need to do on a given day outside of maybe, the core business. And I've kind of created a personal operating system through it. You know, I've got a bit of like a morning routine set up in there because I'm a fallible person. I'm a lemming. I'll walk off into the sunset if I'm not given guardrails. So I've used it to create guardrails around my life and myself.
Cool. What about
What are yours? What are your like 3 go-to tools right now?
Pipedrive, obviously. No, actually, to be honest, Pipedrive actually genuinely is one of my favorite tools. I use Notion, Airtable, and...
You've already said 3, but go on. Go for 4.
I use WhatsApp a lot. So I create, like, every business owner or anyone that I speak to seems to be doing this, where I've got a kind of group, which I'm the only member of, where I screenshot things and I kind of see if there are any inspirational quotes. I kind of copy it down and put it in there.
Have you heard of an app called Notes?
So the thing is, the reason I had Notes, the reason I went from Notes to this is because if you change devices, or if you go from one device to another, it's always there, so it's backed up.
Okay.
So I was in Barcelona last year, and someone stole my phone, and there were a lot of things I lost, and I thought, okay, how can I plan out? So even if something were to happen to my phone, I can, kind of have a backup redundancy, I guess.
100%.
Yeah, so
there we go.
Those are my tools.
Thank you for sharing.
Advice and I guess final words for marketers who are listening to this.
Advice for marketers. Advice for marketers. Keep going. What do you think marketers need to hear right now? What do you need to hear right now as someone growing a business?
I think a lot of marketing people we speak to, work with on a daily basis, get stifled from committees, sadly. So they will have to run their ideas with someone who may or may not understand the world of marketing. So if you're in marketing, my advice would be to kind of trust your gut and actually stand firm in what you want to do.
Yeah.
Because otherwise your ideas get diluted to the point where you're kind of making your boss happy, whereas who you should really be keeping happy is your customer. And focus on the main problem and just go for that, and follow your gut. There's a reason why they've hired you as a marketing person, and your job is to stand firm and
be a bit more pushy, I guess. Yeah.
I guess like if you've got an instinct to say, okay, this is what's going to work, even if like your team internally were like, this I don't feel it, or this makes you're making it about you rather than you're making it about your customer.
Yeah, 100%.
So
yeah.
So Tom, how can people get hold of you if they wanted to reach out to you?
Yeah, I'm mostly on LinkedIn these days. Search for me, Tom Whatley. I think there's another senator called Tom Whatley on there that comes up sometimes, but that's not me. And yeah, that's kind of where I'm spending most of my time at the moment. And you can read more about the agency at grizzle.io as well.
Cool. Well, thank you very much for joining us, Tom. It's been a real pleasure having you here.
Thanks, man. It's been a pleasure being here.
And
this is my first standing podcast, by the way. I love the energy. This was a good idea.
Because we were actually hoping to actually film this outside in the open air.
UK weather, man. Thank you, Suds.
Thank you very much. And we hope we will catch up with you very soon.
Yeah.